After my dad's business went downhill, my parents announced they could only afford to keep my talented brother and sent me off to live with my uncle, as I was a better match for his family. 10 years later, we reunited at Grandma's 75th birthday, and their looks were priceless when they saw me in an unexpected state. I was 14 when my mom sat me down. She said my uncle needed help with his autistic son, and I'd be better at that than Michael. Made it sound noble, like I was doing them a favor. My dad wouldn't even look at me, just stared at his coffee. I asked if I had a choice. She said, "Sometimes we make sacrifices for family." I asked what sacrifice Michael was making. She didn't answer. They packed my stuff that night, 2 suitcases and 3 boxes. That's what 14 years was worth. Michael stood in the hallway watching. He looked guilty but said nothing. Didn't even say goodbye. The drive to Uncle Steve's was 45 minutes of silence. He met me at the door and said, "I'm sorry this is happening to you. Not welcome. Not we're happy to have you. Just, I'm sorry." That's when I knew they'd lied about everything. My uncle wasn't rich. He ran a small construction company and was raising his 8-year-old son, Jamie, alone. 2 bedrooms meant I slept on a pull-out couch for a year, but he never made me feel like a burden. Weekends, I helped with Jamie, teaching him to tie his shoes, reading the same book 17 times. Weeknights, I learned blueprints and cost calculations. I kept waiting for my parents to call. My 16th birthday came, nothing. I texted Mom a photo of my cake. She read it, never responded. I graduated high school with honors, sent them invitations. They didn't come. My uncle was there front row. He brought flowers and took me to Denny's. Told me he was proud. First time anyone said that in 4 years. I worked through college doing estimations during the day and classes at night. Took 6 years, but I finished. By 25, I had my contractor's license. By 28, I'd bought my uncle out and renamed it Davis Construction. My last name, not theirs. I expanded into 3 states, hired 47 people. We specialized in hospitals and schools, the projects my dad used to dream about. I thought about calling them 100 times. But what do you say to people who decided one kid wasn't worth keeping? Then Grandma's 75th birthday invitation arrived. Country club, formal cardstock. I almost threw it away. My uncle said maybe I needed to see them to let it go. I showed up straight from a job site. Steel-toed boots, his jacket with Davis Construction across the back, cement dust still on my jeans. Walked into that marble ballroom and saw them. Mom in a dress that cost more than my first car. Dad with a new Rolex. Michael showing off engagement photos. They'd clearly bounced back. Mom's face went white when she saw me like she'd seen a ghost. Dad stood up. Michael barely recognized me. My aunt whispered, "Who's that?" Mom said, "That's our daughter." My aunt looked shocked. "You told us she was abroad, consulting, making you proud." They'd been lying for 10 years, easier than admitting what they'd done. Another aunt asked what I do. Dad jumped in with some story about international consulting. Big projects, lots of travel. That's why I couldn't visit. I let him finish his whole speech. Then I said, "Actually, I own Davis Construction. We did the new hospital wing downtown, the one that was the medical center Dad's name used to be on before everything collapsed." Complete silence. Mom grabbed Dad's arm. Her knuckles went white. "You're lying," she said. I pulled out my business card, slid it across the table to Michael. Revenue last year was $12 million. We're projected to hit 18 this year. Dad's face went from white to red. He forced a laugh. "Why didn't you tell us? Why didn't you reach out to share your success?" I looked right at him, made eye contact for the first time in 10 years. "You never called to ask. You never checked if I was alive or dead." Dad laughed, actually laughed, and said construction wasn't a real business, that I was probably faking the whole thing for attention. Mom agreed and told everyone I'd always been dramatic, made up stories. The table went quiet, and I saw Grandma's face. She didn't know who to believe. Then Dad challenged me to prove it, so I pulled out my phone right there at the table, opened my email, and scrolled to the latest project approval, turned the screen toward him. That's the signed contract for the new elementary school on Highland Avenue. $4.2 million project. Want to see the invoice? He squinted at it like he was looking for Photoshop artifacts or something. I swiped to my contractor license. State issued. My face right there next to the seal and expiration date. Then I opened my company website, scrolled through the portfolio. Before and after photos of the hospital wing, the community center on Maple Street, the fire station renovation across town. Dad's mouth opened and closed. He reached for the phone, but I pulled it back. "You can look, but don't touch," I said. I showed him the testimonials page, names he'd recognize, the hospital administrator, the school superintendent, the fire chief, all people in the city who actually knew my work. His face did this weird thing where the color drained out and then came rushing back. He cleared his throat and stood up straighter. He looked around the table at everyone watching, and his whole expression shifted. It was like watching someone put on a mask. The hostility just melted away, and suddenly he was smiling. "Well," he said loudly, "I always knew you had it in you." I stared at him. "You literally just called me a liar 30 seconds ago." He waved his hand like he was swatting a fly. I was just surprised, that's all. Overwhelmed. "You have to understand, we haven't seen you in so long, and then you walk in here with this incredible news." He turned to the relatives at the table. "This is our daughter, business owner, multi-million-dollar contracts. Can you believe it?" Uncle Steve made a noise in his throat that sounded like a growl. Dad ignored him. He put his hand on my shoulder and I flinched. He acted like he didn't notice. Started steering me around the room, introducing me to relatives I barely remembered. "This is our daughter, runs her own construction company. Davis Construction. You've probably seen their work around town. She's been so busy, that's why we haven't seen much of her." Each introduction felt like a performance. He kept his hand on my shoulder or my elbow like he was presenting me, like I was his achievement. And the whole time he was asking me questions, pointed questions. "How many employees do you have now? What's your average contract size? Are you bonded? What's your insurance situation like?" I answered because I was too thrown off to do anything else. And the whole time I noticed him nodding, cataloging every answer. His eyes were doing calculations. One of my cousins asked about my biggest project and Dad answered before I could. "The hospital wing," he said. "That was a major undertaking. Very competitive bid process. She beat out firms twice her size." He looked at me when he said it, this weird pride in his voice that made my skin crawl. Because it wasn't real. It was a performance for everyone watching. When we moved to the next group, he lowered his voice. "Tell me about your upcoming projects. What's in the pipeline?" "Why?" I asked. He smiled. "Just curious. Want to know how my daughter's doing." "Your daughter?" I said. "Right." He squeezed my elbow. "Don't be like that. We're family." I pulled my arm away and walked toward the bathroom. I needed space to think, needed to get away from his hand on my shoulder and that calculated look in his eyes. But before I made it out of the ballroom, my Aunt Karen intercepted me, the one who'd asked who I was earlier. "Hey," she said quietly, pulling me aside near the coat check. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." She glanced back at the party, then at me. "Your parents told us you were working in Europe, consulting for international firms. They said that's why you never came to family events. You were always traveling." I felt something cold settle in my stomach. "I've never left the state." Her eyes widened. "What?" "I live 40 minutes from here. Always have. I bought a house in Riverside 3 years ago. But they said..." She stopped, her face going through this confused, horrified realization. "They showed us photos. Your mom had pictures on her phone of you in Paris, in London. Stock photos, probably. Or someone else entirely. I haven't spoken to them in 10 years. Karen put her hand over her mouth. "Oh my God. Why would they lie?" I looked across the ballroom. Mom was watching us, her face tight with anxiety, because the truth was embarrassing. Easier to make up a successful daughter abroad than admit they sent away the real one and never looked back. Karen followed my gaze to my mother. She looked pale. "I need to process this." She walked away and I continued to the bathroom, locked myself in a stall and just breathed. My hands were shaking. I'd expected confrontation tonight, maybe some awkwardness. I hadn't expected them to have been actively lying to the entire family for a decade, creating a fake version of me, a phantom daughter who was thriving overseas. When I came out, Michael was waiting in the hallway. "We need to talk," he said. "I don't think we do. Please, just 5 minutes." I crossed my arms. "Fine, talk." He looked around, then gestured toward the exit. Outside, we walked out to the country club's patio. It was cold and empty, just the two of us and the decorative lights strung between posts. Michael shoved his hands in his pockets. He looked older, tired. "I'm sorry," he said. "Little late for that." "I know." He kicked at the ground. "I was a coward. I should have said something when they sent you away. I should have called you after. I just didn't know what to say." "You could have said anything, Michael. You could have texted me happy birthday. You could have asked how I was. You could have done literally the bare minimum." He nodded. "You're right. I have no excuse." I waited. There had to be more. There had to be a reason he pulled me out here. He took a breath. "Dad found out about your company 2 months ago, through Grandma. She saw a news article about the hospital wing and mentioned it to him. He's been planning how to approach you ever since." "Approach me," I repeated. "Not apologize. Not reconnect. Approach." "Yeah. He made me look up your company online. Wanted me to find financial information, client lists, anything public. He's been studying your business." "Why?" Michael met my eyes. "Because he's broke. They both are. And they're desperate." I felt that cold feeling spread through my chest. "How broke?" "Bad. They remortgaged the house twice. They're 3 months behind on payments. Michael's getting married next year and they've been using his wedding fund to make minimum payments on credit cards. He doesn't know yet." "Jesus. Dad's been talking about you nonstop since he found out. Saying you owe us, that we raised you, that family helps family. He threw this party specifically because he knew you'd come for Grandma. He planned the whole thing." I leaned against the patio railing. "So this was all a setup?" "Yeah. I'm sorry. I thought you should know before he springs it on you." "He already did," I said. The second he saw my business card, he switched tactics. Went from hostile to proud dad in about 3 seconds. "That's his play," Michael said. "He's going to try to get close to you, make you feel guilty, make you feel like you owe them." "I don't owe them anything." "I know, but he's going to push. And Mom's going to back him up. They've already planned what they're going to say." I looked at my brother. "Thanks for the warning, I guess." "Why are you telling me this?" He shrugged. "Because it's messed up, and because I've spent 10 years watching them rewrite history. They talk about you like you abandoned them, like you're the one who cut off contact. They've convinced themselves they're the victims." "Are you going to say anything in there?" I asked. "When they start their pitch?" "I don't know. Probably not." He looked ashamed. "I'm still a coward." "Yeah," I said. "You are." He flinched but didn't argue. We stood there in silence for a minute. Then he said, "For what it's worth, I looked at your company's website. You did good. Really good. Better than any of us. Thanks. I mean it. Dad used to have everything and he lost it all. You started with nothing and built something real. That says a lot." I pushed off the railing. "I'm going back inside." He grabbed my arm. "Just be careful. He's desperate, and desperate people do stupid things." I pulled free and walked back into the warmth of the ballroom. Dad was waiting about 10 feet from the door, 2 drinks in his hands. He offered me one with a smile. "Thought you might need this," he said. "It's been an emotional night." I didn't take it. "What do you want, Dad?" His smile didn't waver. "To talk. To catch up. It's been too long. You didn't want to catch up for 10 years. He sighed like I was being difficult. Look, maybe we got off on the wrong foot earlier. I was surprised, caught off guard. But I've had time to think, and I just want to sit down with you this week. Really talk. Maybe dinner? Your mom and I would love to hear about your business. Why? Because we're family, and family should support each other. Support, I said. Is that what you're calling it? His mask slipped just a little. I could see the strain around his eyes. I'm talking about opportunities. You've built something impressive, and I have decades of business experience. Maybe there's a way we could work together, help each other out. I stared at him. Are you asking me for money? He actually looked offended. I'm talking about family partnerships, mutual benefit. You're doing well, and he paused, going through a transition. It makes sense for us to collaborate. You didn't want to collaborate when I was sleeping on a pull-out couch. That's ancient history, he snapped. Then he caught himself, forced the smile back. We did what we thought was best at the time. You ended up fine, better than fine. So why are you being petty about the past when we could have a future? Because you didn't call, I said. Not once. You erased me, and now you want back in because I have money. He set both drinks down hard on a nearby table. You're being dramatic. We made a difficult choice and it worked out. You should be grateful. Grateful. Yes. We sent you somewhere you could thrive and you did. Now we're asking for a little help in return. That's what families do. No, I said. Families don't abandon their kids. Families don't lie about them for a decade. Families don't throw birthday parties as ambush tactics. His face went red. You don't understand what we've been through. Right, because you never told me. You never called to explain or apologize or even check if I was alive. We knew Steve would take care of you. That's not the same as caring yourself, I said. That's outsourcing your guilt. He opened his mouth to respond, but my mother appeared at his elbow. She looked nervous, her hands clasped in front of her like she was praying. Can I talk to you? She asked me. Please. Just for a minute. I wanted to say no, wanted to walk out right then, but something in her face stopped me. She looked smaller than I remembered. Older. Fine, I said. She led me away from Dad, toward a quiet corner near the windows. She kept glancing around like she was worried someone would hear. I need to be honest with you, she started. That would be new. She flinched. We're going through a rough patch financially. Really rough. And we heard about your success and we thought, maybe you'd want to help. Give back to the people who raised you. You stopped raising me when I was 14. Those 14 years still count, she said. We're your parents. We fed you, clothed you, gave you a home. That should mean something. It did mean something. Right up until you decided I wasn't worth keeping. Her eyes filled with tears. Don't say that. It's true. You kept Michael and sent me away. You made a choice. We didn't have a choice, she hissed. We were drowning. The business was failing and we couldn't afford 2 kids. We did what we had to do. And what about the 10 years after? What's your excuse for that? She wiped her eyes. We were ashamed. We didn't know what to say. And then time passed and it got harder and we just thought maybe it was better to let you be happy without us. You didn't let me do anything, I said. You made a decision for me and then disappeared. And now you're here because you need something. We're going to lose our house, she whispered. We're 3 months behind on the mortgage. The bank is starting foreclosure proceedings. We don't know what to do. I felt a weird mix of anger and something else. Not quite sympathy, but not satisfaction either. Just a hollow kind of sadness. How much do you owe? Total? Between the mortgage and credit cards and Michael's wedding? About $200,000. I let out a breath. That's not a rough patch. That's drowning. I know, she said quietly. That's why we're asking. We don't have anyone else. You have Michael. Michael doesn't know how bad it is. We've been hiding it from him. If we tell him, it'll ruin his wedding, his future. So you want me to fix it instead? You can afford it, she said. I've seen your numbers. 12 million in revenue. What's 200,000 to you? My company's revenue isn't my personal bank account, I said. And even if it was, why would I give it to you? Because we're your family. No, I said. You were my family. You stopped being that when you sent me away and never looked back. She grabbed my hand. Please. We're desperate. We'll lose everything. I pulled away. How long have you been planning this conversation? She hesitated. What? How long have you known about my company? She looked down. Since January. It's November. She didn't respond. So you've known for 10 months, I said slowly. And in 10 months, you never called to say congratulations. Never reached out just to see how I was. You waited until Grandma's birthday because you knew I'd show up. We didn't know how to approach you. Approach me, I repeated. That's the second time I've heard that tonight. You didn't want to reach out to your daughter. You wanted to approach a potential investor. That's not fair, isn't it? I looked at her. Be honest. If I was still struggling, if I was working some entry-level job, would you have thrown this party? She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Yeah, I said. That's what I thought. I started to walk away, but she called after me. We raised you for 14 years. That has to count for something. I turned back. It would count for something if you'd been parents for the 16 years after. But you weren't. So no, it doesn't count for anything anymore. I left her standing there and walked straight to Grandma. She was sitting at the head table, watching the room with this sad, knowing expression. When did they plan this party? I asked. She looked up at me. Your father offered to throw it 6 weeks ago. Surprised me because they usually don't have money for such things. Did you know I was invited? Not until a few days ago. He said it would be a nice surprise. She reached for my hand. I'm starting to understand what kind of surprise he meant. I sat down next to her. They've been lying to everyone, telling people I was in Europe. I know, she said quietly. I heard your Aunt Karen. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I had no idea. It's not your fault. She squeezed my hand. What are you going to do? I don't know yet, but I did know. I was done letting them control the narrative, done letting them paint themselves as victims. If they wanted to manipulate me in front of the whole family, I'd make sure the whole family knew the truth. I stood up and walked back to the main table where Dad was holding court, telling some story about the old business days. I waited for him to finish, then I spoke loudly enough for nearby tables to hear. Dad, when exactly did you find out about my company? He looked startled by the question. I heard through family recently. Recently? Like how recently? He shifted. A few months ago. Why does it matter? And when did you decide to throw this party? His eyes narrowed. What are you getting at? Just wondering about the timing. I turned to Grandma. Grandma, who planned this party? Your father did, she said clearly. 6 weeks ago. Out of the blue. I looked back at Dad. So you found out about my company in January, spent 10 months researching it, then suddenly decided to throw Grandma a birthday party that you invited me to. That about right? People at nearby tables had stopped talking. Uncle Steve was watching with his arms crossed. I was trying to bring the family together, Dad said, by lying about where I've been for 10 years, by telling everyone I was in Europe instead of admitting you sent me away. That's enough, he said sharply. I don't think it is. I looked around at all the relatives watching us. How many of you thought I was working overseas? At least half the hands went up. I've lived in this state my entire life, I said, 40 minutes from here, and they never called. Not on my birthday, not at Christmas, not when I graduated, not once in 10 years. But the moment they found out I was successful, suddenly I get a party invitation. You're being dramatic, Mom said from behind me. Am I? I turned to face her. You admitted 5 minutes ago that you've been planning this since January, that you threw this party to get me here so you could ask for money. We're family, Dad said, standing up, and family helps each other in hard times. Yes, we're struggling. Yes, we hoped you'd have compassion. Is that so wrong? It is when you only care about me because of my bank account. Uncle Steve stood up. His chair scraped loud against the floor. Everyone looked at him. Tell them, he said to Dad. Tell them what you told me 14 years ago. Dad's face went white. Shut up, Steve. You called me begging to take her, Steve said to the room. Said you couldn't afford both kids and Michael was the one with potential. Your words. Michael was the one worth investing in. Several people gasped. Michael's face went red. That's not, Dad started. You said she'd be fine because she was adaptable, Steve continued. Like she was a piece of furniture you were donating. And you know what you said when I asked if you'd visit? Stop, Dad said. You said it was better for everyone if you made a clean break, that seeing you would just confuse her. Uncle Steve's voice was shaking. You didn't call her once. I called you. Every few months I'd call and tell you how she was doing. You'd say that's nice and change the subject. After 3 years, I stopped calling. The room was dead silent. And now, Steve said, now you throw a party the second you find out she's successful. Now you want family reunions. Now she matters. Dad's face had gone from white to deep red. We were desperate. We did what we had to do. And she turned out fine. So I don't see the problem. The problem, I said quietly, is that you erased me. You told people I was thriving in Europe while I was sleeping on a couch 20 miles away. You pretended I didn't exist until I became useful. We gave you 14 years, Dad shouted. We fed you, housed you, clothed you. You owe us. I don't owe you anything. After everything we did for you, after sacrificing for you, you sacrificed me, I said. You didn't sacrifice for me. There's a difference. He slammed his hand on the table. We're about to lose our house. We need help, and you're sitting on millions acting like you can't spare anything for your own parents. Your revenue isn't profit, Mom added desperately. But even if you netted half, that's 6 million. Surely you can spare 200,000. I could, I said, but I won't. Dad's face twisted. So you're just going to let us go homeless? Your own parents on the street? You figured it out for me when I was 14. Figure it out now. You were fine, he yelled. You had Steve. We made sure you'd be taken care of. You made sure you didn't have to think about me, I corrected. There's a difference. Grandma stood up. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady. Did you really do this? Throw a party to manipulate your daughter into giving you money? We're desperate, Dad said to her. You have to understand. I understand you're exactly the man I hoped you weren't. He turned on her. Don't start with me, Mom. You don't know what we've been through. I know you abandoned your child and lied about it for 10 years, she said. And I know I'm ashamed of you. Dad's desperation was turning into rage right in front of us. His face was red, his hands were shaking. Fine, he shouted at me. You want to be selfish? You want to turn your back on family? Go ahead. But don't come crying to us when you need something. I won't, I said. I haven't needed you for 10 years. I think I'll be fine. We gave you everything, Mom cried. 14 years of our lives. And you gave Michael 18, I said, plus college, plus a wedding fund, plus parents who actually claimed him. Because he was worth it, Dad yelled. The room went silent. I don't think he realized what he'd said at first. It just came out in the heat of the moment. But the second the words hit the air, I saw it register on his face. Saw him understand what he'd just admitted in front of 30 relatives. Michael was worth it. Not we had to make a hard choice. Not we did what we thought was best. But Michael was worth it, which meant I wasn't. I watched my father's face cycle through about 5 emotions in 3 seconds. Shock, realization, horror, panic, then a desperate attempt to backtrack. I didn't mean, he started. Yeah, you did, I said quietly. You absolutely did. Honey, Mom reached for me. I stepped back. Don't. I can explain, Dad said. You don't need to. I get it now. I always kind of knew, but hearing you say it out loud actually helps. So thanks for that. I grabbed my jacket from the back of my chair and started walking toward the exit. Behind me, I heard Dad's chair scrape back. Where are you going? He called. We're not done talking about this. Yes, we are, I said without turning around. You can't just walk away. I kept walking, heard his footsteps behind me, faster now. I'm talking to you, he shouted. I pushed through the doors into the parking lot. Cold air hit my face. My truck was parked near the back and I headed straight for it. Dad followed me out, still yelling. You owe us. After everything we did, you owe us something. I got my keys out. Don't you walk away from me. Don't you dare turn your back on your family. I unlocked the door. He grabbed my arm and I spun around. Let go. Not until you listen, he said. His eyes were wild. We're going to lose everything. Our house, our savings, everything. You have to help us. I don't have to do anything. You're our daughter. No, I said. I was your daughter. You gave up that right when you sent me away and never looked back. We were desperate, he pleaded. We didn't know what else to do. You could have called. You could have tried. You could have treated me like I mattered even a little bit. You did matter. You do matter. I shook my head. I mattered for 14 years. Then I didn't. And now I matter again because you need money. That's not love. That's convenience. His grip on my arm tightened. Please, we're begging you. I pulled free and got in my truck. Through the windshield, I could see his face, desperate and angry and scared all at once. He started yelling again, but I couldn't hear him through the glass. Didn't want to hear him. I started the engine and backed out. He followed the truck a few feet, still yelling, then gave up and just stood there in the parking lot watching me drive away. In my rearview mirror, I saw him pull out his phone, probably calling my number, the number he'd had for 10 years and never used. I blocked both of them before I even got to the highway. Mom, Dad, gone from my contacts. I should have felt something. Guilt, maybe. Sadness. But mostly I just felt tired.